are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 272 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm John Larck, on Twitter. Here to officially say good morning. I very rarely record these episodes the day of, the morning of. It's currently 5:38 in the morning, so I'm a little tired. But we have a show to record talking about this Saturday's game as Auburn gets ready to play the Vanderbilt Commodores, the 3-5 Auburn Tigers versus the 5-3 Vanderbilt Commodores. I could have guessed by this point in the season that this record would have been swapped. Never in a million years would have assumed that Vanderbilt would have two more wins than Auburn at any point of the season. But an issue for Auburn is they are going against Diego Pavia yet again. A quarterback that Hugh Freeze expressed that he was sick of seeing sick of seeing just in general. Auburn, of course, lost to Mexico State last season, and Diego Pavia was, in fact, the quarterback of that Aggies team that was really good last year in the CUSA. But going to this game, Auburn's going to have a lot of issues. Vanderbilt is a much better team than New Mexico State was last year, and Auburn has maybe found a stride. You saw it against Kentucky. Auburn was able to run the ball very, very well. And kind of looking offensively versus Vanderbilt's defense, Auburn currently ranks 46th in the country in rushing yards per game. Vanderbilt actually 28th defensively in rushing yards allowed per game. So Auburn's going to have to play to their strengths. I firmly believe that if Auburn wants to win any more games this year, they cannot be a pass-first team. And Hugh Freeze talked about this in his press conference earlier this week, that he wanted to pass the ball so bad versus Kentucky, but opted to go with the run game, and it worked to what I would assume to be perfection. Auburn gets the win. Jarquez Hunter gets on every single Player of the Week award list and Team of the Week list and all this other stuff. The SEC Player, the Offensive Player of the Week. Doak Walker, running back of the week, stuff like, and all those awards that he won this week. So if Auburn wants to win this game, you have to attack the strengths of this Vanderbilt defense, which, looking at their schedule, I mean, Vanderbilt hasn't really played a running back to the caliber of Jarquez Hunter, not since Nathaniel Noel. Had they played a running back who I'd consider to be in that top 5 SEC running back conversation. Nathaniel Noel rushed for 199 yards against the Commodores defense, and that was one of the last game Vanderbilt lost before the Texas game this past Saturday. But the last game they had lost, they went on a 3-game win streak against Alabama, Kentucky, and Ball State. And, of course, lost Missouri in overtime. And a big factor of this game, Auburn is at home, which sold-out crowd get to see Jordan-Hare Stadium at 11:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. Looking at Auburn's offensive production again, 27.6 points per game scored by this offense. Vanderbilt only allowing 22.75 points per game. And another key factor to this, Auburn has a turnover per game differential of 2.1 per game. It's 128th in the country. Vanderbilt is getting 1.3 turnovers per game, which is 70th. Auburn can no longer turn over the football. If Auburn wants to go to a bowl game, you have 3 teams that you cannot turn the football over on if you want to go to a bowl game. You lost to Missouri, so your chances of going to a bowl game are slowly diminishing, and every game becomes a must-win if you want to get there. So Auburn should be able to pass the ball down the field against Vanderbilt's defense. Now, I don't think they should be able to. I don't think they should at all even consider trying to open up the pass game like they were earlier in the season. I do think Auburn has more talent at wide receiver than Vanderbilt does at defensive back. But here's the thing. So does everybody else. Alabama has more talent than Vanderbilt does tenfold. I would say Kentucky has more talent than Vanderbilt does. Texas has more talent, only won by 3. Missouri had more talent, only won by 3. Auburn has to not let Vanderbilt outcoach them and outplay them, despite the fact that Auburn has more talent. So looking at Cam Coleman, Kildare Lambert-Smith, Malcolm Simmons, those guys need to get the football, but not down the field. The short game worked well against Kentucky's defense. Kentucky has a better defense than Vanderbilt does, especially pass defense wise. So Auburn has to open up the run game through the short pass game. And that's how Auburn can win this football game offensively is just finding quick ways to get the ball out of Peyton Thorne's hands. That way you're not waiting on any decisions to be made. That way you don't make any mistakes. Auburn found the semblance of an identity against Kentucky. And now it's up to them to build on that. Now, kind of flipping it over to the defensive side of the ball, Vanderbilt, not the greatest offense in the world in terms of passing yards and rushing yards in the game. Only 195 yards passing per game, which is 96th. 156.1 yards per game on the ground, which is 70th in the country. Auburn ranks higher in both those categories defensively, 213 yards per game and through the air, and only allowing 112.1 yards per game on the ground, which is 26th in the NCAA. So Auburn does have a strength here defensively. You should be able to slow down Diego Pavia, but the issue is Vanderbilt does not turn over the football very much. They are 5th in college football in turnovers per game given up. Auburn's averaging 1 turnover per game, which is anywhere from 100th to 80th. I mean, it's all over the place. So for Auburn, you have to find ways. I mean, if you look at the points per game, you're only giving up 20 points per game, where Vanderbilt is scoring 32. This Vanderbilt offense is going to kill the clock. That is what they are built on. They don't do quick drives. They don't do explosive plays. They do methodical football where your defense is going to feel every single 1 to 2 to 3 yards they get per gain while they absolutely demolish the time of possession. We're looking at the Vanderbilt and Alabama game. Vanderbilt had the ball for 42 minutes to Bama's 18. They do not allow you to win time possession. That is something that they are going to win 9 times out of 10 in every single game. I don't think there's been a game this season where they have lost it, but regardless, Auburn has to find ways to not let them do that. You have to get them off the field quickly, whatever it may be. You have to keep Diego Pavia in the pocket. Now, that's why they haven't been getting that many yards per game, is because they're killing clock. They're not playing a lot of football offensively because they're playing a lot of offensive football, but they're not. You only have 100 yards to work with, and you can't really put up a lot of those yards if you only have like 8-ish drives, maybe, where you just slowly going down the field, making quick passes, making these runs, triple option plays where you're just there, you're keeping the clock rolling, and you just can't put up a lot of put up a lot of yards per game. But Auburn is in a unique territory here. Alabama had to play them in Nashville, which I never really thought Nashville was going to be that much of a home field advantage, but they came in and played Texas and absolutely played them super, super close. So Auburn has to play Vanderbilt this Saturday at 11:45 a.m. And usually I think the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock kicks kind of favor the away team more often than not. And I think it's going to be a super close game. Auburn currently 1-4 in the SEC. Auburn has more talent than Vanderbilt does. That's my thing about this game. Is Auburn does have way more talent. And, of course, you're going into this game super thin at the DB position. I mean, we don't know if Keontae Scott will be in. Hopefully he will. But, I think he has an opportunity to really shine again. I mean, I've not been impressed with Keontae Scott this season. And, what he offers through the punt return game is athleticism, speed. And, I mean, I think he's been a better punt returner this year than he's been a corner. But you have to get those guys back. Auburn, of course, dismissed Antonio Kite yesterday from the team after what I believe to be missed practices. And, you've already had a few guys that you've missed. J.C. Hart was out for the year. Not J.C. Hart. It's going to kill me. Tyler Scott out for the season beginning of the year. So you got a lot of freshmen out there. You have Jay Crawford. You have Kensley Falston. You have Caleb Harris. You have Amon Lane. Gaines. And, you have all these young guys. So you have to allow those guys not to get beat. You have to make sure they don't make those freshman mistakes that can lose you a game. And, of course, those guys have all played great this year. Auburn might have some of the best freshman group of players as a whole. I mean, you have guys like Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams who've been playing great, but you have a whole unit defensively of freshmen for Auburn that deserve some credit. Malik Blockton, DeMarcus Riddick, and all those guys have just been playing amazingly. Amaris Williams, the future looks so bright for Auburn, and all these guys are going to get in. All these guys are going to have opportunities. And I'm trying to think of who you have to rely on defensively to really lock down Diego Pavia. He's not been sacked a whole lot this year. But you got to look at Keldrick Falk and Kieran Crawford and Jalen McLeod. Those guys have to get to Diego Pavia. You have to find ways to make him feel uncomfortable. That's something these other defenses haven't been able to do yet. They have not been able to make him make mistakes. He only has 3 interceptions on the season. He's also their leading rusher on this team. So looking at Keldrick Falk, he's been having a great year. 7 sacks on the year, 5 away from the Auburn single season record, or really 6 away from the Auburn single season record. Has to get about a sack and a half a game going forward. So looking for Auburn here, I think this is such a tough prediction because these teams on paper are neck and neck. Record-wise, it's Vanderbilt. SEC conference record-wise, it's still Vanderbilt. But I really want to say if Auburn has turned the page, if Auburn has finally decided, we won a football game, it's time to start winning some more on this season. And I think that they can win this football game. I think Auburn can do what Bama was not able to do and beat Vanderbilt at home. And I'm trying to think of a score here. It's so tough because I think the defenses are going to be a prevalent part of this game for both sides. And I think it could either be a low-scoring game or it could be a high-scoring game. We saw Bama lose to Vanderbilt 40-35. We saw Texas beat Vanderbilt 27-24. And both these teams are going to kill some clock because they should both, Auburn, looking at you, should both be running the football a lot in this game. I want to say Auburn wins. And I'm going to say Auburn wins it 30-24. So Auburn wins 30-24 is my prediction. I think you finally found some way to run your offense. Hopefully you continuously do it. I think Jarquez Hunter should have a big game in this one. So look to him. Jarquez Hunter currently 137 yards away from his first 1,000-yard season as an Auburn Tiger, and has an opportunity to go even higher up on the Auburn all-time rushing list. I think right now he's currently he is number 6 in Auburn career rushing yards. So yeah, that's my prediction for the Auburn-Vanderbilt game. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think it's going to come down to the run game of both teams and the defenses for both teams. That's the strong suits for each side. Auburn just can't drive the football. Alabama made mistakes. Vanderbilt was able to recover from them, or Vanderbilt was able to take those and take advantage of them and score points. That's why they were up big against Alabama. Alabama had to play from behind for a majority of that game. So with that, we're going to go to a quick little break. Outside of the break, we're going to do our weekly pick'ems. But before we do, just make sure, leave your prediction for Auburn Vanderbilt in the comment section below. So outside of this break, we're going to do our weekly pick'ems. And of course, we'll be right back. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, that's on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. First page, Feelin' Loop or college loop hat. Second page, Feelin' Loopy t-shirt, $25 each. Get them today. Holiday pictures coming up around the corner. You want to match with your family. Why not all join together and wear the Looper merch? Look awesome. It look great. You can color coordinate it too. It comes to 5 different colorways for the hat and the shirt. So you can all mix and match. It would look really cool. And of course, if you did, send me a picture of it. That'd be really cool. I'd put it on the show. Happy holidays from, the Loopers. So with that, going into our weekly pick'ems, Auburn, or Auburn. I am currently 63-27. I had a very mixed bag last week. I think I went 7-3. Which I guess looking at, I really didn't expect myself to go 7-3. I thought I did a lot worse, and of course, some of those losses being me picking Missouri to beat Alabama, me picking Vanderbilt to beat Texas. But kind of starting off, I mean, you have a massive playoff game implication game right here as number 3 Penn State hosts number 4 Ohio State. This game, it can go either way for me. I think that both offenses have played pretty well. I think you saw a very bad look from Ohio State last week against Nebraska. You saw a very mixed bag of feelings about Penn State last week versus Wisconsin. This game is going to be very interesting to me. You saw Ohio State has a loss in the year. They have some weaknesses that they've not really been able to fix yet. You have some issues with Penn State that you always have with the James Franklin led team. But with it being at Beaver Stadium, I kind of feel a way for Penn State to get a massive statement win here. I think Penn State is on pace to be up there with Oregon in terms of who's going to be that number 1 seed left in the college football playoff. So I'm going to take Penn State in this game. I'm confident in that. I picked Penn State to win the national championship last year, but I'm confident that they could win this game. So yeah, I'm going to pick Penn State in that one. Number 19, Ole Miss is going to travel to Razorback Stadium, take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Ole Miss currently a 7-point favorite. And, Ole Miss kind of had a little bit of a struggle week against Oklahoma. Came out and won by 12. Arkansas took Mississippi State and absolutely throttled them. And this will be my hate pick of the week. This is my hate pick. I think with how Arkansas has been playing, I think the way that they've been playing so close to teams, they didn't play very close versus LSU. And, of course, LSU beat Ole Miss in overtime. With it being at home, I like the Razorbacks in this one. I think they can get it done. They've been having a very good season. I think they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility, and, of course, they're with another loss that would completely knock Ole Miss out of the realm of a college football playoff berth. So I'm going to take the Razorbacks in that game. Up next, number 1, Oregon travels to Michigan Stadium, take on the Michigan Wolverines. Oregon currently one of the favorites to win the college football playoff outright. Number 1 team in the country, number 1 team in the will be the number 1 team in the first college football playoff poll. I'm going to take Oregon in this game. They're 14.5 point spread. I don't know if they cover that. This game could be very close, but I've just not been impressed with Michigan this year. Neither has anybody really. So, yeah, with that, I'm going to take Oregon to win that game. And then back to the SEC, you have the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville, Florida, as the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs will travel to play each other. Georgia's currently a 16.5 point favorite. I don't think they cover that. I think Florida's been playing a lot better than expected. I don't think that, I don't think they cover that spread, but I do think that Georgia wins that football game, currently number 2 in the nation. But if Florida were to play very well, I mean, it'd be a huge opportunity for Florida. I'm not even sure if they fire Billy Napier after the season anymore. So with that, yeah, I'm going to take Georgia in that one. Up next, a weird game that I picked just because it was a close game. 5-2 Arizona State will take on the 3-5 Oklahoma State Cowboys. The fact that this is a primetime game is annoying to me. Oklahoma State currently 0-5 in the Big 12, or Arizona State currently 2-2 in the Big 12. Of course, Arizona State lost last week to Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State has lost the last 5. But for some reason, Oklahoma State is the favorite in this game per ESPN FPI. And I've just not been impressed with Oklahoma State. I'm going to take Arizona State to win that one outright. Up next, back to the SEC, Texas A&M, number 10 team in the country, only a 2-point favorite to the home team of this game in Williams-Brice Stadium, the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina is such a weird team to me. They're coming off a bye week. They whooped Oklahoma. They played close to Alabama. They got whooped by Ole Miss. They beat the snot out of Akron, and they played very close to LSU. I don't know what to expect from this team, but I do know that Texas A&M is in first place in the SEC. They've been playing very, very good all season long, and I think they win this football game. because I think A&M could be a team to talk about later on in the season. Looking at the remainder of their schedule, I mean, they have Texas left and they have a loss in the season, but after this game, they have New Mexico State, Auburn, and Texas. So opportunities for them to just straight up win the SEC outright. So yeah, I'm going to take the Aggies in that one. Mike Elko has fully turned that team around in just a few weeks. So back to the ACC. I would say back on that we've even talked about this yet. We have not. The Louisville Cardinals, a 10.5-point dog to the Clemson Tigers, as this game will be played in Clemson, South Carolina. Clemson has found their stride 5 games in a row. They have won. Louisville won against Boston College, but have had a little mixed bag over the past 5 weeks, losing 3 of the last 5. I think Clemson wins this game. Home game for them. Works out well in their favor. Louisville's just not been playing well this season. I mean, they've had some games where they've looked good. I mean, they played Miami close. They lost close to SMU, and they lost close to Notre Dame. They just can't win football games. They just can't win them. Kind of had the same issue as Auburn, but the issue is Auburn lost 5 and won 3 instead of winning 5 and losing 3. Up next, the Big Ten, almost at the Pac-12 for this one. The USC Trojans will travel to Washington to take on the Washington Huskies. USC is a 2.5-point favorite, and I think they win this game. I've not been impressed with Washington all season long, so yeah, I'm going to go with USC in this one. Back to the SEC, Kentucky travels to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Straight up taking Tennessee in this one. Trying to get all the SEC matchups I can. This game's kind of an outlier to the good ones. So, yeah, I'm going to take Tennessee in that game, probably to win big. And then back to the ACC, a battle of two of the top teams in the ACC. The Pitt Panthers travel to Dallas to take on the SMU Mustangs. 18 versus 20, 7-0 versus 7-1, both undefeated in conference play. With it being at home, give me the SMU Mustangs. I really think that they can get it done, and Rhett Lashlee has SMU competing in the ACC in the first season of them being there. So you have a few of those teams actually that are actively winning, or very close to winning their conference in their first season being there. You have Oregon, you have Texas, Oklahoma, no, SMU. And, of course, I want to say a lot of those teams in the Big 12 are very close to winning those. I think you have, like, Colorado who has a chance, not Cincinnati. Who are all the teams? Arizona and Arizona State should have been in contention, but kind of fell off from where they were last season. Arizona, of course, losing their coach to Washington, which was a massive blow. So that's my predictions for this week's Pick'ems. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And, of course, that'll do it for this time of the College League Podcast. As always, leave your prediction for Auburn versus Vanderbilt. Can Auburn stop Diego Pavia? And if they can, by how much do they win? So don't forget to check out our social media platforms as well at the College Loop, everywhere on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all those at the College Loop. And, of course, check out the audio version of the show on Spotify Podcast, Google Podcasts, of course, Amazon Music. And, of course, with all that being said, thanks for watching some of the College Loop Podcast. And, as always, War Eagle, and let's beat the Commodores.